Well, as he rightly recognized, a lot of our guests of honor who are here, our chief guests from day one, day two, of course, our dignitaries who are present here. Once again, a very, very warm welcome to each and every one. Now, let's get straight to the talk because I know we are all waiting for each and every one to join in. I believe, Dr. Narendra, would you like me to call all of them and be seated on stage first? All right. First, Shri Rajeshwar Rao ji, if you can join in, Mr. Subnesh Joshi ji, if you can also join and just be seated with us on stage. We just appreciate. Of course, we'd also like to take the opportunity of inviting Sandeep Parwal ji to please join in as well for the inaugural. From our day one, also we'll take the opportunity of inviting as being seated on stage, if we could have also Dr. Shrikanta K. Panigrahi to please join us, Director General IIST. Sir, if you can also give us your valuable time and presence on stage. And as our leaders are here seated, we'd now like to begin with the inaugural session. Our first leader is a senior Indian central banker who served as the Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank of India from 9th of October 2020 to 8th of October 2025. He joined the RBI in 1984 and has held several key positions across departments, including risk monitoring, financial markets, and regulation. He's held a bachelor's degree in economics and an MBA from the University of Cochin, and is also a certified associate of the Indian Institute of Bankers. During his tenure, he oversaw major regulatory and supervisory functions of the central bank. It's truly an honor that we have him amongst us as our chief guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now indeed a key honor to pass on the mic to our chief guest, Shri Rajeshwar Rao ji. Let's give him a warm, warm round of applause as we thank him. And sir, if you're comfortable, you can be seated and, all right, perfect. Thank you.
Sir, you can sit and talk also, sir. No, it's okay. Okay, sir.
Yeah. It's here already. I've kept for him.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everybody. At the outset, let me thank Dr. Narendra and other dignitaries on the dais, as well as the distinguished audience, and thank the organizers for inviting me to this extremely contextual topic. The agenda for future leaders set under the aegis of the seminar quite aptly outlines the issues that are relevant for enabling the transformative changes that will help us in achieving the vision of a Viksit Bharat in 2047. What is very important in this process is to identify the key drivers and enablers which will help us to reach the required growth trajectory necessary to fulfill this vision. We also need to, besides talking about it, we also need to develop an action plan which will drive the growth story. At this juncture, we have a 20-year horizon before us to achieve this vision, and it's extremely necessary for us to ensure that the required actions start right now at this point in time. The discussions, the seminar which have been proposed today around financial inclusion, innovation, digital transformation, role of technology are relevant in understanding the growth trajectory in the financial services sector. Besides the discussions on governance, roles of CEOs and KMPs, use of AI, blockchain, 6G chain building, I think are also topics which will enable the future leaders to contribute to a future growth path. As I see it, our growth story will be determined mainly by 4 factors: the size and quality of our infrastructure, the institutional ecosystems, the leadership and governance in the organizations and institutions, and the harnessing of technology as well as skilling and molding the aspirations of the workforce. With this as the context, I would like to reflect on how the issues influence the action plans of individual organizations and institutions. To begin with, let me give a perspective on the financial sector. The financial ecosystem has a critical enabling role in providing finance to fuel the growth aspirations. As an economy which aspires to have a GDP of around $30 trillion by 2047, would definitely need a financial sector of commensurate size and heft. The Indian financial sector has traditionally been a bank-led model with bank credit to GDP of around 55%. This is quite modest when compared with other advanced and EMEs. So if we have to scale up the sector, we would need an enormous expansion of the industry. This means the potential is huge, but the question is whether the existing structures will suffice, or do we need to see changes in the structure which will enable this growth. The likely changes in the structure and the consequential challenges which the policymakers and institutions will need to address are quite manifold. For the management of these entities in the financial services space, I think the first and most critical challenge will be the growth capital. Given the level of scaling up required, the capital levels to sustain financial assets of that size would be quite significant, even daunting. Mere reinvestments of profits is not likely to be sufficient. The shareholders would need to chip in with more capital. New institutional investors will have to be brought in. For the public sector banks, the government will need to bring in more equity. The managements will have to address the challenge of remaining attractive to the investors, even as they strive for growth, which has to be achieved without compromising on financial stability or asset quality. While the government has announced the proposal to set up a high-level committee on reforms needed for the future growth, it's also interesting to see that a country like Singapore, which is a pioneer financial service center, has set up in the budget, I think they are proposing a growth capital working group to see how the growth capital can be channelized for them. I think that kind of farsightedness and setting up of entities to channelize our growth aspirations and ensure whatever other required infrastructure is in place is very, very important. In the financial sector now, when we come to it, even as we see there is likely to be more diverse set of entities, it's important to improve the risk management in all these entities. The sophistication of the risk management processes would need to improve, even as the nature of the risks to be addressed change. While conventionally we look at credit, market and operational risks as key focus areas for risk management, greater emphasis in the times to come would be on technology risks, operational resilience and climate risks. The capital outlay for these risks may end up being much higher than what is now prescribed or provided for conventional risk parameters. Besides effective risk management in the institutions, there would also be concomitant need to increase the suite of hedging products to manage credit, liquidity, interest rate and currency risks. Having strong central counterparties and large players offering such products would give market depth and liquidity which is necessary for the credit institutions to thrive and grow. Managing the manpower requirements in the financial service sector would be absolutely critical. It is not necessarily just the numbers, but the quality and expertise that required that is important, giving the changing profile of the financial services in terms of institutions, technology, services and products. Given the scaling up of the financial services, the approach to handling manpower requirements will need to be addressed holistically by the industry and the policy makers. The competition for financial services will come from diverse sources. The advances in fintechs and the growth of big techs means that the nature of entities offering the financial services and the nature of products is likely to change. The banks will have to operate as a part of a larger ecosystem with a greater number and variety of non-bank players. Technology will prevail in all aspects. Big techs will enter banking directly or indirectly and become important players competing with the existing banks and non-banks in delivering financial services. The resilience of the NBFI sector in terms of liquidity, leverage, cyber risks would need to be strengthened. The financial sector would be impacted by the climate change risks. The vulnerabilities associated with use of AI in financial services and the growth of private credit are developments which have a bearing on the financial services sector. The risks to the consumer have also been magnified. There are increasing instances of frauds, data breaches, emerging dark patterns, and there are gaps in grievance redressal mechanisms in financial service entities which have to be addressed. Systemic stability will have to be ensured by having strong deterrents for non-compliance and breach of rules. The innovations in financial services, the growing diversification of financial assets among stakeholders, the growing digitalization of financial service offerings, and the rise of newer institutions will challenge the status quo, not just for existing players but also for policymakers. Given the ease of movement of cross-border flows, greater coordination will be required amongst regulators across the globe to preserve financial stability. The newer challenges in terms of cyber frauds and cyber security risks arising both from state and non-state actors would become challenges which the authorities will need to address in close coordination both nationally and on a cross-border basis. We are all beginning to recognize the transformative role of artificial intelligence for our economies. Even as I speak here, I think a global summit is being held in New Delhi to discuss the same challenges. Increased use of AI will present both immense opportunities and pose significant risks, and it will be necessary for policymakers to ensure that opportunities are maximized and the risks are controlled. IMF estimates show that with the right measures in place, the artificial intelligence could boost global productivity by up to 0.8 percentage points per year over the global growth to levels exceeding those during the pre-pandemic period. In order to ensure that AI leads to broad-based prosperity, necessary macro policies need to be put in place. Investments and innovation in AI will boost growth. Fiscal policies necessary to support this, as well as we also need to ensure research, reskilling and sector-based training programs. And we also need to ensure effective financial regulation, which will be essential to ensure financial market efficiency and improved risk management and also preserve financial stability. AI needs to be managed strategically to address concerns of sovereign AI and AI sovereignty. We may have to strive to ensure that all data in the system is subject to Indian laws and the governments and businesses know how the AI models are processing it to arrive at the result. This is critical not just for defense, but also in the fields like finance and healthcare. AI used in the country should be immune to foreign interference and disruption, whether willful or accidental, so as to ensure that it is safe, fair and trustworthy. The growth of AI-driven solutions also means greater dependence on power-hungry resources to drive our growth story. But this dependence also has a bearing on an issue which constitutes a clear and present danger for us, namely climate change. The climate change impact on us no longer remains a distant threat. We see its visible impact every day in our lives. Rising global temperatures, extreme weather events, changing weather patterns and the degradation of ecosystems are threatening our lives and livelihoods. Unfortunately, it's also a fact that it is the emerging market economies who face the greatest impact from climate change. We therefore have to face up to the challenge of climate change sooner, not later. Let me highlight what could be our concerns. One, it poses a long-term threat to growth and prosperity and has the potential to create shocks for monetary stability, growth, financial stability, as well as safety and soundness of regulated entities. A range of factors would influence how things pan out in future, including changes in climate-related policies and regulations, the emergence of new technologies and behavioral changes of consumers. To ensure a successful transition to a sustainable future, we need a multifaceted approach that involves the governments, private sector entities, financial institutions, civil society organizations, and public. From a banker's perspective, climate risks can impact the macroeconomic outcomes primarily through two channels, the physical risk and the transition risks. While physical risks refer to direct outcomes of climate events such as wildfires, storms, floods, etc., transition risks refer to the risks arising from process of adjustment towards reducing the emission intensity of the economy. In India, the rising temperatures, heat waves, and changing rainfall patterns can also affect cropping yields, resulting in higher or lower prices of some agricultural produce, leading to uncertainty in their prices both for producers and consumers. Such uncertainties can make measurement and management of inflation and anchoring of inflation expectations difficult. Another challenge on account of physical risk dimension of climate change is the increased probability of loss for the banks and financial institutions. First, the operations of these institutions, if in a geographically vulnerable location, it can be aggravated to the losses on account of climate events. Second, the assets which they are financed or taken as collateral may become unavailable or lose value due to adverse climate events. Such loans may turn non-performing, impacting the bank's capacity to lend further, and this in turn can induce instability in the financial system. The transition risks, if not managed properly, could also lead to fall in the asset prices of carbon-intensive assets or increase in risk premia or both, making them unattractive to hold and perhaps create larger ripples across the financial markets. This could lead to situations where the price of green assets may rise disproportionately, creating bubble-like situation. This could also lead to rise in greenwashing concerns. Disorderly transition could create situations where a sector or industry may witness credit withdrawal or restrictive costs without build-up of sufficient or viable alternatives. Such situations may become a limiting factor for production of essential commodities and increase the cost of production, which may lead to undesirable social and monetary outcomes. Dealing with climate change and enabling the organizations to manage transitions to transition planning requires a collective effort and, of course, ample resources. Recent research from Niti Aayog estimates that India's cumulative investments needs by 2070 to achieve a net zero scenario comes to almost USD $22.7 trillion, which translates to an average investment of roughly $500 billion a year. Whereas the current resources available with us is around $135 billion a year. The financing gap is huge, and we need to look at actively raising resources. We could also consider setting up of specialized institutions to help to manage the transitions. Our growth aspirations, while managing climate change, will require credible financing architecture, institutional reforms, and plans for raising resources with appropriate regulatory actions. Finally, let me come to the fourth dimension of the problem or the challenge which I mentioned earlier. That is development of skilled resources and women empowerment. I think you'll have to give me 2 more minutes, ma'am. Okay. Major technologies often bring disruptions, and we can expect disruptions from artificial intelligence, especially to labor markets and business models of our large corporates. The IMF managing director was recently cited saying that on an average, 40% of the jobs globally will be impacted by artificial intelligence, either upgraded, eliminated, or transformed. For advanced economies, it's estimated that 60% of the jobs would be affected. Workers with in-demand skills will likely to see productivity and wage gains. This will create more demand for services and increased employment and wages among the low-skilled workers, but can also lead to squeeze of middle-skilled jobs. This could have a significant impact on young people and the middle class. In the long run, the issue of whether or not we can successfully capitalize on AI's enormous promise will largely depend on the policy regimes which we put in place to address the skill set challenges. Skill sets in the finance sector too will require changes. The need to serve the rising customer base, manage the large financial markets, and address technology challenges which I have mentioned previously are also influenced by how the skill sets required in the financial sector are addressed. Since we are seeing a growth story which is driven mainly by technology and innovation, we should also expect to see changes in the skill sets and levels in the public institutions that are involved in governing and regulating the business entities, that is the government and the regulators. An important element of the skill set and the employment puzzle, which would be the issue of empowering the large segment of population that has been marginalized and is involved in low productivity jobs. I refer to the issue of employment of women. Rapid technological and digital advances, including automation, robotics, and artificial intelligence, are leading to job losses and raising the potential for heightened inequality, especially gender inequality. In India, which has an estimated 520 million women and 540 million men over the age of 14 who can legally work, only 4 in 10 women are working. India's female labor force participation rates is lower than in many countries at comparable levels of income and development, although this has seen an improvement in the recent times. Creating more employment opportunities for women and encouraging their entry into jobs can potentially raise female labor force participation. Women also face several barriers along the way, including shouldering a disproportionate share of domestic and caregiving responsibilities, deep-rooted social norms and gender roles that restrict their occupational choices and limit their access to workforce. In addition, there are practical barriers such as concerns about safety, which makes it hard for them to work away from their residence. We need to dismantle these barriers to gender equality. Government and private sector leaders can play a critical role in making these choices easier. In achieving the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, we face a disparate set of issues, challenges, and trends. Our success in making this vision a reality would depend on preparing and meticulously implementing action plans both at a macro level and at the entity level to maximize growth and fulfill the growth potential. We need to work in a mission mode on a continuous basis over the next 2 decades to achieve these aspirational goals. The macro level challenges of having the right infrastructure, enabling the institutional ecosystem, managing climate risks, and harnessing the power of technology and innovations and leveraging on public participation through skill building and women empowerment requires collective effort both from the public and the private sector, government, regulators, and the businesses. While I see a growing recognition of the challenges, what is necessary is that we put our collective act together to achieve the goals that we have set for ourselves. We have the vision, but the will to act and strive continuously in the coming decades. Perhaps the motto that can guide us and the mojo which we need could best be summed up by quoting the concluding lines from the poem Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson. It says, "That which we are, one equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield." Thank you.
Water, please.
Thank you so much, Sri Rajeshwar Rao, for firstly joining us and endowing such wisdom on the platform. I'm sure if we revisit the clip and we hear every word he said, there's so much knowledge which is something, of course, we can only learn from his experience. So I think let's give our chief guest a big, big round of applause. And thank you so much for humbly accepting the invite from N-Cube Collaborations and joining us for the day 2. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to go ahead and ask our guest of honor to join in. He's an Indian civil servant from the Indian Telecom Service cadre, currently serving as a Deputy Director General Joint Secretary level in the Ministry of Communications, Government of India, at the Department of Telecommunications, Mumbai. He's somebody who has more than 25 years of experience in telecom, policy, regulatory frameworks, and of course, the digital infrastructure. Earlier in his career, he's also played a key role in the Aadhaar digital identity project across various states with the UIDAI. It's truly an honor as his work supports India's digital transformation, broadband expansion, and strategic communication policies. Please join me in giving a big, big round of applause as we welcome Shri Somnesh Joshi ji.
So good morning to all, and thank you very much for such a long, sorry. So thank you, Narendra ji, for inviting me here, and I'm really happy, delighted, and respected all the dignitaries on the dais, and ladies and gentlemen. So today's topic is really fascinating, the connect the future ready leaders, and we have the youngsters in the crowd that may take away, with our experience, so we'd like to share, and maybe they are the, the foundation, the main contributor to take the India to the Viksit Bharat. So today, because I am from technology and management, and I say that this Viksit Bharat, the role of the digital ecosystem is very, very important. And the digital public good infrastructure that we have coined, right from the Aadhaar and then the financial inclusion and telephones. So all these guardrails, right, we have already have in place, and now it's time to reap the benefit and create more innovations. So when we say the physical infrastructures, airports, roads, ports, etc., they move the people and all your bags and physical goods. But what digital public good infrastructure or digital rails, do, that they create the trust in the ecosystem. That is very, very important if you want to achieve something bigger. So trust is the new currency of our Viksit Bharat. So the learning from our digital public good infrastructure is that world is, eyeing for it, and they are coming forward. And as rightly mentioned by Deputy Governor Sir, that AI summit is going on in India. This is the first Global South big summit, and there India is showcasing and actively participating that what should be the new word in the AI driven. So in DPI, first we created, digital identity Aadhaar, that again at the scale that 1.4 billion plus are having the Aadhaar. Similarly, then because of the identity, we have given the 600 million, bank accounts we have opened 60 crore under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. And now we have 1 billion plus bank accounts in our country. And mobiles, again, 1 billion plus mobile. And everyone is having now, almost 80% is having the smartphone also. Maybe some less features, some is having the high-end feature, but everyone is able to transact the business digitally all across nook and corner of the country. Because when we see all the shopkeepers or roadside vegetable hawkers and pani puri wala, everyone, they take the 5 rupees, 10 rupees, doesn't matter, they are happily, and they have the full trust. So trust is really a key element. If you want to ensure that something will go as per the citizens' choice, trust we have to win. And then NPCI is helping us, the direct benefit transfers. All these DPIs are making or ensuring that everyone will contribute in the digital economy. Because, and another key lesson that we should know, that governance we have to embed in the digital architecture. That is very important. I will give the example of the right now initiative taken in the Department of Telecom. So what's happened, you heard about the Sanchar Sathi application. I don't know how many you are aware and having the Sanchar Sathi. If not, please, thank you. So please download the Sanchar Sathi. So it is embedded that why to be the reactive once fraud is happened in the call 1930, but why not the proactive, that if we all together help the system and we can stop all these things. You have to report through the Sanchar Sathi that how many fraudulent calls are reporting, and report that the phishing links or any suspected call, you have to report. So the way, we will get the data from the citizen, and then we have a digital intelligence platform also, where more than 1,000, ecosystem partners, the banking industry, law enforcement agencies, central government, and cyber security, all are onboarded, and they are sharing the data, because data is the power. So once we have started sharing the data, and data is coming from the citizens also, so the DOT is analyzing using the AI algorithm, and giving some financial risk score to the each mobile, that these mobile numbers are very risky, these are the risky, so don't make the payment on these mobiles. But why it is why it has happened? Because DOT is getting the data from all across the ecosystem partners. So I say that we should report all the suspected fraudulent communication. And then again, through the Sanchar Sathi, you can track and block the lost or stolen mobile devices. So you can protect yourself, the last mile, that is the mobile. So then what I can say that in a digital Bharat, what we have to do that we should promote the startups for innovation. So again, there's a 5G labs across 100 academic institutions, and the AI labs are also there. So one should use those labs to test their prototypes. That is very, very important. And then after that, I can say, in the digital economy, DPI has become, the economic accelerator. That is very important, that it reduces the friction across the economy. So we know if you want to verify any person identity, just in a click you can do it. Onboarding cost is very, less. Earlier maybe it's 1,500 or 2,000 rupees to acquire a customer in a remote area, but now it's just 100 and 150 rupees you can onboard a customer for any service. And now credit frameworks like Unified Lending Lending Infrastructure or Interface, is ULI, that RBI has already, launched with the help of the RBI Innovation Hub. So that is now, it's a time to reap the benefit of this platform. Now the time taken to give the loan, earlier maybe it was 30 days, now it's just minutes. So because data is flowing through the interface, and if data is coming immediately, the decision can be taken immediately. And so if loan to the MSME is faster, so again it will help. And a telecom network, I have already told that it has become very robust and secure, and helping the last mile person, because the connectivity is everywhere. Even there are 26,000 villages where no connectivity at all. So under the Digital Bharat Nidhi, that is Universal Service Obligation, government has given the fund to the Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, and they have put the Made India technology, 4G technology, and now those sites are on. I think just a month before, Honorable Prime Minister has launched this 4G, Swadeshi 4G. So this is again, important thing, that connectivity is there, because nowhere in the world the kind of infrastructure we have created, I can say with the proud. So in a nutshell, I can say that India's approach has not been siloed. Identity connect to the payment, payment connect to the lending, telecom connect to digital intelligence connect to the financial system, Sanchar Sathi protect your identity, and DIU is again, corroborating again amongst all the ecosystem partner. So the integration of all is strengthening the India's model. So not a digitization of the department, but orchestration of, national digital trail. So this is the time where, we should work, more effectively and use this infrastructure. So again, I request all the youth that please, whatever we study, that's fine. We should study, but try to think what are the societal problems that you are going to solve using this DPI, and how we can help the society in any manner, day in, day out. Just think that what you have seen, the critical thing in today's, oh, this is something that requires, sometimes, when we are going to a taxi, or sometimes we see the traffic also, can we think that how we can ease this traffic given the infrastructure? Maybe creating the infrastructure is one issue, but the optimal use of the infrastructure in a way that it derives the efficiencies, all these things using, the digital public good infrastructure, we can, or using this AI. Now, it's the integration with the AI, because this DPI plus AI, now use this intelligence, right? So what important thing is, whatever we are doing, we should keep in our mind the Digital Personal Data Protection Act also, rules have been notified. Sometimes, we forget that we are taking whatever the data we want, but actually we don't want the data. Please just revisit all these things. What is your digital architecture? What type of data you are having? It is a quality data, because, that data is going to, create the LLM models, this the AI algorithm. Sometimes we take the solution from the West and we want to use it here, but that will not work. That will create the bias, because that is not trained for the Indian citizen. So in a nutshell, lastly, I want to say that the Viksit Bharat represents, it's not that it's simply someone can come, or we are inviting someone that this is Viksit Bharat. The Bharat represent a nation confident in a digital foundation, a nation that understands the identity-enabled participation, payment-enabled velocity, telecom-enabled connectivity, credit-enabled opportunity, and digital governance-enabled trust. So Bharat is not merely building digital infrastructure, it is engineering trust at the scale. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sri Sumnesh Joshi ji, for joining us. And of course, I'm sure a lot of the audience members can take back from your session two keynotes, of course, as he said, about the current situation and how he gauges it, and also encouraging the youth of India. Can we once again please give him a big, big round of applause? And now we have two of our dignitaries who have joined us online. And of course, everyone's running on tight schedules. We'd first like to bring in one of our speakers. He's the Executive Director at IDBI Bank with over 30 years of experience in banking and financial services. Somebody who has the extensive experience and expertise in corporate banking, risk management, credit operations, and financial strategy. Throughout his career, he has held several leadership roles and contributed to strengthening banking operations and governance. With this, we now like to bring on the screen, if we can have Nagaraj Gadla, and let's try and see if he can be brought on screen, and we'll just do a sound check with him.
Yeah, Saab is there, no? Yeah, he's the executive director.
Yeah, we've already mentioned.
हाँ सर इधर भी आएगा ना इधर आते हैं
Mr. Gadla, if you can hear us.
नागराज
Hi, can you hear us?
Hi. No, yes. Very good morning, everyone.
yes sir good morning sir
We can hear you as well, sir. Please continue.
yes sir
Okay. Thank you. Respected Rao Saab, Joshi ji, Dr. Narendra, respected other dignitaries on the dais, young leaders of tomorrow, and fellow architect of India future leaders. Namaskar, everyone. Good morning, everyone whoever is here. It is an absolute honor to address you today at the 5th edition of Connect with the Future Leaders Forum, a platform that embodies the spirit of innovation as well as collaboration. Our gathering here is inspired by the promise of Vikasit Bharat 2047, a vision articulated by the Honorable Prime Minister, positioning India as a developed nation by excelling in economic strength, equity, quality of life, sustainability, and global leadership. We envision 2047, the centenary of India independence, as a $30 trillion economy where every citizen is empowered and where MSME thrives and where every village gets connected to the global market. This is a national mandate. It is not only for PM, it is for all leaders who is sitting not only here, for entire leadership of the nation. So this national mandate underscores that developments depends not only on the policy and capital, but on the quality of leadership we demonstrate today. So just Rao Saab has covered almost all challenges, but just want to spend 2-3 key challenges. To achieve a per capita income of above $20,000 from the current level of 2,500, we must address economic hurdles such as low agriculture productivity, access to MSMEs, formal finance, logistics cost, which is at 14% compared to 8 to 10% in the developed nations. Social inequality continue to persist. All of you know, top 1% holds almost like a 40% of wealth in the nation, while 200 million live in a multi-dimensional poverty. Rao Saab has covered extensively on the human capital gaps. And of course, we have institutional red tape stiffens the enterprise despite improvements in ease of doing. Now, globally, we are at the 63rd. I mean, lot of changes and reforms have been done, but still lot of things to do. So we have a pending reforms in land, labor, as well as in judiciary. Climate vulnerabilities demand urgent green investments, and Rao Sahab again covered a lot of discussion on this. So all these are the challenges. So entire leadership team, whoever is sitting here, entire thing is actually how to convert these challenges into opportunities and not to see them as obstacles. So nations like South Korea and Singapore advance through deliberate reforms. For Viksit Bharat, virtually we require a 10x mindset to sustain a 9 to 10% growth. So Viksit Bharat is a blueprint basically on the 5 pillars, which I think all of you know. It is on economic opportunity, social justice, infrastructure excellence, governance, innovation, and environmental sustainability. So to achieve this, what is the leadership which is likely to be in the new era? So future leaders, whoever is sitting, young leaders, must own this agenda amid transformative forces. Artificial intelligence, again, Joshi Sahab has covered extensively. Artificial intelligence is reshaping our decision making. Hybrid work culture is redefining our organizations. Climate change is enforcing our ESG accountability. We, all of you know, geopolitical volatility and economic uncertainty. And added to this millennial and Gen Z dominated workforce, we prioritize purpose over pay. Past leadership, basically we are focused on a predictability and control. Probably today leadership is demanding adaptability and clarity. And maybe tomorrow we will have a resilience, trust, and ethical judgment. Leaders will be evaluated not only managing the stability, but on navigating a disruption. So just I was thinking 2-3 minutes, what are the qualities of a future leaders which are required to navigate whatever challenges we have. So future leadership calls for a conscious, courageous, and compassionate leadership. So we think not only globally, but also act responsibly. Those leaders who not only embrace technology, but with forsaking humanity, build trust before demanding the performance, and leave organizations that serve the society, not just markets. So coming back to the financial system, Rao Sahab has covered extensively. So none of this is possible without a turbocharged financial system. Banking as the oxygen of the development. RBI envision also 2047 projects a $30 trillion economy through productivity surges, formalization, and exports. RBI has recently released a stability report. So most of you know, Indian banking sector remains robust with a strong capital, liquidity buffers, alongside steady profitability. Credit growth has been very good at 11%. Deposit growth also has been at 9.8%, though CASA ratio has been challenging for the most of the banks between 35 to 38. NPAs or asset qualities have reached a multi-decade low from a peak level of 9.5% to 2.2% for GNPAs, and from 5.5 to 0.5 at a net NPA level. Slippages ratios also comfortable at 0.7. Provision coverage ratio is comfortable at 76%. So friends, actually from the twinned balance sheet problem, today we have moved to twin advantage. So balance sheets of the banks are also comfortable. And if you look at the corporates, most of the corporates balance sheets are also very good. Debt equity at a comfortable level of 0.4, which is a very good signage of solvency. Debt to fixed assets at 0.2. That means enough collateral available for leveraging further finance. And interest coverage ratio, if you see, it is almost like a 4 times, but 55% of the companies in the universe. So I personally feel, and if you look at first 2 quarters also, I think private capex has been increasing. So it is, at the end of the day, it is like nothing but actually optimization of capital. So corporate banking, which has been growing around 6% for last 3-4 years, I think this year it will see double-digit growth. Retail banking has been doing good. Only I think it will shift to higher yielding advances from low yielding advances like a mortgages and all. So industry has been placed well today and has been attracting a global capital, which is a testimony to many recent deals last quarter as well as in the 2 previous quarters also. So look at NBFCs and insurance also, both of them actually they are doing good. NBFCs also demonstrate a capital buffers, earnings and asset quality. Insurance sector also with excellent solvency ratios and above it is regulatory thresholds. So going forward, high power empowered committee on financial sector reforms announced in the recent budget will enhance scale, efficiency and alignment with the Vikasit Bharat 2047. Its recommendation will unify entire BFSI towards our shared goals. So I urge all delegates to engage fully with this platform and leverage whatever lessons actually this platform can give to all future leaders. My sincere thanks to Narendra Saab once again for giving me opportunity. Happy to take any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We'd really like to humbly thank you for your expertise. We won't be able to take the live questions because we're a little tight on time, but thank you once again for joining in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It is always a pleasure.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, now it is time for us to move ahead to our next speaker in focus. We're talking about the chief economist at CRISIL Limited, somebody who leads the economic research and macroeconomic analysis. He has over 3 decades of experience in economic research and consultancy, including the stints at National Council of Applied Economic Research and Central Electricity Regulatory Commission before joining CRISIL. Please join me, ladies and gentlemen, in giving a big round of applause as we bring on screen Dharmakirti Joshi ji. So we're just going to try and bring Shri Joshi ji on the screen. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you.
Yes.
Over
Am
to
I
you.
audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You can go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Narendra, for inviting me, and my respects to all the dignitaries on the dais. I think we've already had very comprehensive coverage from Mr. Rao and others. So I will try to be brief now and try to connect some of the dots as much as I can. Well, I think the objective of attaining Viksit Bharat goal by 2047 has several dimensions. I think GDP growth is one of them. I think because you want to attain the status of advanced country by 2047. And the definition, I think, varies, but I think generally understood right now that about $14,000 per annum or per person, I think, is what you need to achieve. I think there are other dimensions like having a skilled workforce, modernizing the infrastructure, and an inclusive society. I think these were talked about. So I'll focus essentially on the growth side of it. Well, I think in this context, let me, I think, bring you to what the economic survey had pointed out a few days back. I think two very important observations. I think regarding the growth path of the economy, and also I think it has some implications for Viksit Bharat objective as well. The first statement I think that I saw in the economic survey was that India's potential rate of growth has moved up from 6.5% to 7%. So 6.5% was estimated 3 years back. So this is a good news, but I think I also want to emphasize the fact that potential is not a given. As the budget had pointed out following the survey, that you need to convert potential into performance. So this is, I think, we have the ability to grow at now 7% without generating inflation. I think that's what it means. Second, I think important message from the survey was that India must run a marathon and a sprint simultaneously, which looks a little odd. But I think the point is that What it means is you need to grow much faster and maintain that speed throughout next 23 years to attain the Viksit Bharat status. I mean, now I think the issue comes that why has the potential of the economy risen in the last few years? And here clearly I think we can correlate it to a couple of developments like we have government has fast-paced infrastructure build-out, which creates efficiency in the economy, and also I think this period also coincides with the reforms like goods and services tax and very fast-paced digitalization, which was I think mentioned by Shri Joshi ji. Now, I think what is very clear is that from most of the studies, including World Bank and even government's own reports from Niti Aayog, I think that you need a growth of close to 8%, I think, to attain this objective. So, which essentially means that you need to raise the potential further and also need to raise the ability of the economy to sustain that potential. And performance, I think, as I pointed out, would be the key. So now I think let me try to speak a bit about what can cause this, what will be the driver of this growth. And here I think the first point is capital deepening, which essentially means that the investment per capita or investment as a percentage of GDP needs to rise. Now, this has been an important driver of growth in some of the Asian economies which became developed economies, like, for instance, Korea or Japan. I think they now attained their developed country status after sustaining high growth for a long period of time. And so their investment rates went up to something like 40% of GDP. China also is in that route, but it is yet to become a developed economy, despite having grown close to 10% for several years. Now, I think the growth rate has slowed, and I think it has a risk of becoming old before it becomes advanced country or becomes rich. So I think if you compare the investment rates in India currently, I think they are much lower than what these countries had achieved and sustained for long periods of time. I think the post-pandemic recovery in India was fired by government spending on infrastructure. It was also supported by household investments, I think particularly in the real estate. The corporate sector, which has the strongest balance sheet of the three, I think is a little shy of unleashing animal spirits driven capital spending in the economy. And I think that remains one area where I think we need to work a little harder. And here I think investments, when we talk of capital, I think it also you need to keep in mind that the nature of capital, the nature of investments itself is changing over the last few years. CRISIL, for instance, estimates that the new age sectors like semiconductors, EVs, solar equipment, I think all these will contribute about 25% to industrial capex over the next 5 years. So this share was around 12% few years back. So which essentially, and now government I think has rightly tried to push these investments via incentives, I think, which is the PLI scheme. Also, I think they all have sunset clauses. So I think they want the companies they want to support the companies in the initial stages, and then I think they can take off. And I think once they have the scale, I think they can be on their own. I think that's the objective. So I think now in this environment, I think the global environment has turned very protectionist in nature, and so the need to support industries will be important. I think in various ways. I think it could be through safeguard duties, etc., because it's rather hard to compete with China because of the high level of efficiency and lower product prices. So I think to ensure that capital deepening takes place as it has taken place in other advanced countries, I think we'll have to relentlessly focus on reforms, ease of doing business, which I think is ongoing. Deregulation is already a big theme with the government. And now, what is interesting is that the number of FTAs India has signed with a variety of countries, I think they will also give more market access. And if along with better investment climate, I think they will trigger private investment pickup. I think that's what our assessment is. The second driver of growth is productivity. I think it was talked about, the AI, etc., were being mentioned. But productivity is the magic ingredient of growth. I think in traditional economics, we look at capital, labor, and productivity as the key drivers of growth. And productivity means that with the same level of capital, with the same level of labor, you can produce more output. And I think this can happen via improved physical infrastructure, because it reduces your turnaround times and connectivity, which makes you more efficient in your factors of, when you use your factors of production. It also happens via R&D, research and development. And here I think there is enough evidence to show that I think long-term growth is very strongly correlated with or productivity is very strongly correlated with the R&D spend. And here I think we need to work a little harder, because India's spend on R&D is close to 0.65 or 0.7% of GDP, and compare it to China, which is around 2.4% of GDP, and countries like US, etc., have it above 3% of GDP. So I think government is focused on that, but I think we'll need to work more hard on that, because in the protectionist environment, I think the ability to grow, export, I think is like swimming against the tide. I mean, so we'll have to scale up these things. And digitalization, as was mentioned, is already is a key factor. And finally, I think on the jobs are important. I mean, and inclusive growth is important. So let me spend 1 minute on that. So from a long-term perspective, as Dr. Rao was mentioning, I think creating jobs, skilling the workforce, I think is a challenge in a very fast-changing environment, because AI is not a linear development, it's a non-linear exponential development, and I think the catch-up can be very challenging, I think, when such developments take place. Now, the major tech development which could be disruptive at this stage is AI. I think we know there's a summit going on in Delhi on that. So it is, as I think I just want to repeat and re-emphasize the fact that the AI will definitely lead to productivity. There is no doubt about it. And it will also challenge jobs which are repetitive in nature. So it is very important that the gains from productivity are shared by everybody. I think that is how you will get an inclusive society, which essentially means that the way AI should be adopted is not as a replacement for workers, but as something that augments their capability to do their jobs better. I think that will ensure that we don't have mass underemployment. I don't see unemployment rising very much, but the many workers, if it is unbridled, many workers might lose their ability to get higher wages. I mean, and so you might have a low wage economy for a large part, and a high wage economy for some other parts. And other, I think, very interesting thing is that because of AI, I think some of the traditional business model like IT, ITS, etc., could be challenged. And we've already seen, I think, the Anthropic's impact, I think, on initial impact. I think it's very early to give any prognosis on that, but I think it's beginning to pose some kind of challenge. So we need to diversify our services exports, I mean, which have been a very strong engine. I mean, but it is very concentrated in IT, ITS. So I think I was very happy to see that the budget had announced focus on some traditional services like tourism, etc., which also create a lot of employment opportunities. And what is interesting is that the tourism, etc., are less vulnerable to the technological disruption of AI. These are experiential in nature, and I think wealthier people are getting wealthier. I think they're looking for more experiential tourism. I think that it will very easily fit into that. And then other things are like we can be a supplier of manpower to the world, I mean, which is aging very fast. So I think all these things will have to press the pedal hard, so that I think we we diversify away from concentration risk. So I think Dr. Rao had very interestingly pointed out two things. I mean, I'm not
Sir,
going to
just
speak about
requesting
them. I
you
think
to
one is
kindly
the addressing
conclude.
the climate risks. And the
Mr.
second
Joshi,
is,
can we request you to kindly conclude?
yeah, this is just last point, I think. So I just wanted to say that these two developments, I think the protectionist world and the climate change, I think this is something new for a country like India, because the other countries which were growing, they were smoking their way to growth. Everybody polluted while growing, so you have to clean up while growing. And I think everybody exported their way out in an environment which was not protectionist, which was actually the tariff walls were coming down. So these are going to be two key challenges while we negotiate this growth path. Thank you very much once again, and my greetings to Dr. Narendra for managing this event so well for so many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshi.
Thank you so much, Sri Dharma Kirti Joshi ji, for joining us. Please do give a big round of applause. We can applaud him from here, and thank you so much for your key expertise. Of course, always coming from an economist point of view, it truly holds a lot of weightage. Thank you once again for collaborating with us.
Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the next dignitary in the inaugural session, he was keen enough to join us yesterday as well, and we're elated that he is here with us today. We're talking about a passionate entrepreneur known for spearheading strategic initiatives and operational excellence in the financial solutions sector. Let's now call upon the MD and CEO of SBA Capital Services Limited. Please join me in welcoming Sandeep Parwal.
Good morning, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful to be here, and with all the organization which Narendra sir has done, and with all the dignitaries over here, really honored to be at the place. I think it is a unique and absolutely different kind of interaction where we are looking at foresight and trying to analyze that how the journey for the growth of the country will be phenomenal. Dr. Rao very thoroughly explained, and all the other speakers also very specifically were thorough and comprehensive about each aspect which will be there in the journey. I am not left with many things and many points to discuss, to be real, but then I have something which I will certainly like to share. So we are talking in an environment where it is not restricted to just the domestic environment. The global scenario is what we need to consider while we are talking about an inclusive growth for the domestic citizens and the other people over here. In a world which is leveraged substantially, a 360% borrowing vis-a-vis their earning, the kind of interest rates and the kind of requirements which have almost tripled over last 1 year, and everything is just struggling in terms of the developed economies going through a very challenging phase. 2047 is 21 years away, but is the journey going to be smooth and straight? I am apprehensive, and I maintain that. Because in a world where everything is changing and everything is at the established players, including besides the Western economies, even a China and a Japan and a South Korea are going through a difficult environment, then you can't have a new emerging economy at an early stage. Yes, we have changed our positions in the third and fourth and fifth. We have our domestic advantages, but can we be a real growth economy and reach the targets which the Prime Minister has defined very recently at $36 trillion, $35 trillion over the next 21 years? Cannot be a simple straight job. It requires a wholesome participation from the domestic residents of the country, the participants of the country, maybe international origin, internationally placed Indian origin people also, and then maybe support from the domestic, international economies as well. The journey is going to be very, at least engaging and not straight walk. So how do we get into that part, and how are we able to manage that? will be a very critical piece. All the journeys in each economy have been going through a different scenario, and where the growth has been achieved, as very rightly was said by the previous speaker, that the growth was where there were minimal restrictions on the climate impact or on the exports, or how do we could leverage on the international peace or the potential of the economies that could be achieved. But India doesn't have those luxuries. And with that environment, to building up an economy with growth and with this size of population will itself be very challenging. Inclusive growth is critical. Will India achieve it? I am very confident it will achieve it. I have no second thought that with the demographic advantages, will India be able to reach over there? Will overachieve it? Yes, it will go substantially. But the path is going to be not a smooth one, it is going to be a difficult one. And that will require a lot of commitment, integrity, participation by each and every individual citizen of the country, including the youngsters and the experienced people. While we get into this format, the risk or the potential elements for caution is how I like to name it. Not that we are negative on the growth, but parallelly I like to highlight the points of caution. Because once we address those pieces, then our growth becomes that much more certain, and we are able to cover the risk aspect related to those. The divide in the domestic population is large. We carry a risk of uncertainties. Anybody sitting at a different power position is not comfortable seeing an economy growing fast. Everyone wants to be themselves at that place. So they will induct all kind of challenges, or they will try to introduce and push the country for multiple divisions, challenges, participations, maybe restricting the growth. How can we address those things? Well, something which needs to be considered. We have done very well in the technological inclusion, the financial inclusion, the multiple parts, but they come with an over-leveraged path. We are moving into something which the Western world has gone through, seen, and we are trying to fast run that, and perhaps we will be getting into some challenges related to that also. While it was very surprising that what could not be done over the last 20 years happened in a month. There are global consumptions where you could have a European economy, complete EU signing a treaty, and the domestic economy, the US economy signing a treaty, and now we are getting into agreements and treaties more aggressively than what happened over the last 20 years. It is not a smooth journey, sir. It has to be something much more than what we are seeing on the front lines. And what are those challenges needs to be evaluated, which can be done only by the participation and a wholesome perspective in terms of how it is done. The risks of the global leverage, the debt, the servicing capabilities, the shortcomings of the world are going to be large. I believe that considering these cautions and finding a solution for this will ensure that India achieves that 2047 target levels. With that, I have some limitations on time, so I'll hold myself over here and perhaps like to take you forward from there. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, of course, since our dignitaries are here, and what a fantastic inaugural session it has been, may we request Dr. Narendra to please do us the honor of giving a small token of appreciation to all our dignitaries. Of course, our chief guest from day one has also honored us today. So we just request all our audience members, if you would like to join me in applauding all our dignitaries here on stage. And if we can shortly urge all of them to join in for a group photograph before we conclude with the panel discussion. The first inaugural bit wherein we had, the inaugural session. The first inaugural session had all the addressees talk on individual subjects. Now from the inaugural, we are going to be proceeding towards the panel discussion. Every panel is going to be restricted to 30 minutes per session. May we please urge our speakers, our dignitaries, our chief guests, to take this opportunity and join us in frame, and to encourage them, to all our audience members, if that applause can continue, it'll only more rigor to them. On the other side, we are going to be heading towards India's path to global leadership. As we've informed that all the panel discussions now would be restricted to 30 minutes. We're confident that all our speakers have the skill set of delivering the knowledge in the least time, because that's where the skill ideally lies. So I'm sure that none of us are going to be here for storytelling, and we're going to be concise and we'll stick to the points, because we've got a lot of sessions today. So just remember, whom you're talking to is the one who's trying to gauge from you. Short and sweet, and from all your experience, I'm confident that it'll work out.